The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Well, good evening and welcome to Weyburn City Council for Monday, February 10th, 2025. Busy night tonight. We'll acknowledge that Councillor Higgs is unable to join us tonight, but everybody else is here. We got a busy night. One delegation and a couple other things, a discretionary use permit and first steps of a new City of Weyburn accessibility plan. So I think we'll get to work right away. We'll kick off our agenda and I will look for, first, a motion to approve the minutes from the meetings on January 27th.
I'll make that motion, Your Worship. I'll motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting and the strategic planning and priorities meeting held January 27th, 2025 be approved.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, good. Thank you. I thought maybe I forgot something already. All right. Okay, any additions to the agenda? Administration?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. No additions from administration tonight.
No. Council? Oh, let's call a question to vote on the motion. Yeah, sorry, guys. Okay. Not my best night. Okay, yeah. All right. Council, any additions to the agenda? Hearing none. We'll go ahead. There are no public hearings tonight, but we do have one delegation. This is the Little Discoveries Childcare Delegation, Jessica Fenwick and Michelle Wiley. So we would invite you up to the microphone. Would remind you that, and I'm sure you don't need all 15 minutes, but 15 minutes is your maximum time allotted, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Little Discoveries Early Learning Cooperative is one of the largest childcare centers not only in Weyburn but also in Southeast Saskatchewan, with 120 spaces and over 60 families. Our children range in ages between 6 weeks to 12 years old. While we have highly educated staff and detailed policies and procedures to protect the safety of our staff and children, this only ensures safety within our center. Our center is located on 1st Avenue Northwest, with the front door and parking lot facing Bannerman Street. We are straight south of the high school parking lot, which means there is an influx in traffic during school days and in particular morning lunch and after school. Currently, there is a 30K school sign on the north end of Bannerman facing south. While we appreciate this being there, it is not posted until after our parking lot, which means that the limit in front of our building is 40 kilometers per hour. We found that there are several drivers during peak school traffic times that drive fast past our center from 1st Ave Northwest to the school parking lot. During the morning traffic time for high school students, we have children waiting in front of the center to catch the school bus. There are children that do not attend our center that have to cross the street to get there. On numerous occasions, we've seen drivers speeding to get to the parking lot and nearly missing a child who may not be actively looking out for vehicles. In the morning when children are waiting for the bus, there are vehicles that will not stop for the bus even though the arms and stop signs are out and the lights are flashing. At lunch and after school, there are multiple cars and trucks racing to the corner because they do not want to wait in line to turn left. Given these situations, we'd like to recommend a change to help reduce the likelihood of an accident involving a pedestrian in front of our center. We are asking that a speed limit sign be moved to the corner of Bannerman and 1st Avenue Northwest, and one additional sign posted at the corner of Bannerman and 3rd Ave facing north. While we know this will not solve the situation completely, we're hoping that it will reduce the likelihood of an accident happening. Safety of our center's children and other children in the community is our #1 priority, and we are asking for help from the city to ensure we are protecting our children as best we can.
Thank you very much. I would open the floor to council or administration if you have any questions you'd like to ask Jessica or Michelle. Yeah, Councillor Bedore.
Yes, thanks for this report. I think no question, just a comment. When we had our budget meetings, we actually had a couple that lived in the Bannerman condos that had the exact same concern. That I think it's a straight shot from the parking lot, and that's a big concern because they have such a short lunch period and they have to get to wherever that place is very fast. So I think that's a concern not only with the daycare, but with the condos there as well.
Anybody else? Administration, any questions or input? No? Anything else that you ladies would like to emphasize?
No.
No. Thank you for coming, by the way, and we appreciate you taking the opportunity to utilize this part of the council meetings as it's meant to do. So thanks for that. So generally what will happen is when we receive something like this, council sort of, they call it taken as information. But what we mean by that is we'll take this and then we will put it on to administration. So in this case, it might be the Director of Engineering who would take a lead on this and then sort of start to do the technicalities behind whether or not this is something that, that gets back to council for a change. Does that make some sense?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Okay. Next up is reports from standing committees. So we're reinvigorating this part of the council meeting a tiny little bit. The City of Weyburn has got about 20 committees that we're a part of. So when it makes some sense, councillors who sit on those 20 committees will be giving just quick reports on what's going on those committees from time to time. So I would open it up. If anybody wants to do a report or has an issue from one of the committees, we'd be open to that at this time. Councillor Morissette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not any one particular committee in general, but I know that each year we do sort of an overall allocation of committees or of volunteers to committees, but those committees will take new volunteers and new members at any time of the year. So I encourage anybody who's looking to get involved in their community to check out the city website. We have some really great committees and lots of great volunteers who would love some help. So definitely take a look at what we have to offer, and you can get a hold of City Hall if you want to be part of one of those committees.
Well said, Councillor Morissette. So I would ask, I think, the city clerk, if somebody had a specific question, they could direct them to you, whether that was an interest in police commission or the library board or any of the 20?
Yep, that's correct. They can, there's applications online, or I can email them an application and they could send it back to me, and then I just email it to the chairperson or the council member, and then you go from there.
Very good.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Thanks, Councillor Morissette. Okay, next up is the consent agenda. So we have on there the building report for January, Public Works Department report for January, water treatment plant for January, and the December cash activity report. If I could get a motion for the consent agenda, please.
Worship, I move that the items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Jenke. Seconder?
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the items on the consent agenda? No? Hearing none? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. As always, those reports are available on the city website if somebody wants to dig into them or have a look at them. I would encourage you to do that. Next up, we've got a couple of motions. First off is accounts payable. Look for a motion for that.
Your Worship, I'll make the motion that the purchases from January 1st, 2025 to January 31st, 2025 in the amount of $1,538,364.90 be approved for payment, and those purchases include quick pays of $81,622.81, accounts payable of $847,817.08, direct withdrawals of $608,795.71, and debit card transactions for $1,129.30.
Your Worship, I would second that motion because I made Councillor Morissette read all the big numbers out because I didn't want to do it.
Thanks, Councillor Jenke. Any questions on the accounts payable? No, hearing none. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next up, we are looking to make an appointment to the Airport Board. Director of Engineering Cognate will walk us through that.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So as per the terms of reference established in the Weyburn Airport Board bylaw number 2019-3403, the mayor and/or council of the city of Weyburn shall appoint 2 members of council, 1 member of the RM of Weyburn number 67, and 4 citizens at large to be members of the board. Currently, the board only has 3 citizens at large members, resulting in 1 vacant position. At the February 7th, 2025 Weyburn Airport Board meeting, a motion was passed to recommend adding Brandon Cote to the board. I recommend that City Council appoints Brandon Cote to the Weyburn Airport Board.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion? Councillor Bador.
Your worship, I'll make a motion that we accept Brandon Cote to be appointed to the Weyburn Airport Board.
Thank you. Seconder?
Your worship, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So any questions or clarification on that one from anybody? Nope. Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Cote, for agreeing to serve as well. So the airport board is full. That's good news. When we get land and some jets, we'll be in good business. I know. Okay, next up is introduction of bylaws. For a change, there are none. It's been a while since we haven't had an agenda item there. There's no unfinished business, so we move on to new business. First one is exciting. This is our new accessibility plan, or at the very least, the first steps. Director of Leisure Services is going to take us through that one.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Accessible Saskatchewan Act, introduced in the fall of 2022 and receiving royal assent on May 17, 2023, requires public sector bodies to create accessibility plans by December 3, 2025. These plans aim to remove and prevent barriers to accessibility, ensuring that all members of the community can fully participate in daily activities, work, and play. This initiative aligns with the City of Weyburn's vision for being a community for all. This report outlines the steps the City of Weyburn will take to develop the accessibility plan, including an explanation of the process, identification of key stakeholders, the timeline for completion, and the importance of the initiative, both legislatively and for our community. So the development of the City of Weyburn's accessibility plan will involve a collaborative effort among various stakeholders, including City Council and City Administration, providing leadership and oversight throughout the process. Persons with disabilities, engaging directly with individuals who experience accessibility barriers to ensure their voices are heard and their needs are met. Community organizations, partnering with local groups and advocacy organizations to gather input and expertise. And the Saskatchewan Accessibility Office, utilizing resources and recommendations provided by the provincial government to guide the process. So the timeline for completion, the City of Weyburn's accessibility plan will be developed in the following phases. So we're currently in the initial planning and consultation period, which will run from January through March 2025. So in this period, we'll identify key stakeholders and form a working group, conduct consultations with persons with disabilities and community organizations, and perform an initial assessment to identify barriers in physical, technological, systemic, and communication areas. Then we'll begin drafting the plan from April through September 2024, where we will compile our findings from the consultations and assessments, develop actionable strategies to address identified barriers, align strategies with Saskatchewan Accessibility's office guidance. Then we'll have a public feedback and revision period in October 2025. So we'll post the draft accessibility plan for public review and feedback, make revisions based on community input, and then the final step will be finalization and implementation, and we're looking at between November and December of 2025 so that we hit the deadlines. And at that point, we'll approve and publicly post the final accessibility plan and begin to implement key actions that may have been identified in the plan. So the development of the accessibility plan is mandated under the Accessible Saskatchewan Act. Compliance ensures that the city is going to meet legal obligations and align with provincial standards, and demonstrates a commitment to inclusivity and accessibility. Creating the accessibility plan reflects on the City of Weyburn's vision of being a community for all by identifying and addressing barriers. We promote inclusion and equal participation for all residents, regardless of ability, enhance the quality of life for individuals with disabilities by improving access to facilities, services, and information, and foster a culture of respect, diversity, and community pride. The accessibility plan is a vital step in ensuring that the City of Weyburn remains an inclusive and welcoming community. Through collaboration, consultation, and commitment to removing barriers, we can create a city where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. This initiative aligns with our values and sets a strong foundation for the future. So the recommendation is that Council approve the outlined process for developing the accessibility plan and direct City administration to begin implementation immediately, with regular updates provided to Council on our progress.
Thank you very much. Can we get a motion to get this on the floor?
Your Worship, I would move that Council approve the outline process for developing the accessibility plan and direct City administration to begin implementation immediately, with regular updates provided to Council on progress.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Comments or questions for the Director of Leisure Services on this one? Councillor Bador.
Andrew, is there any budget allocated for this at all?
No, we elected not to put budget towards this project because we felt we could handle it in-house with the professionals that we have that work within City Hall. And we're pretty confident that we'll be able to go through that process. We have some really, strong individuals, so.
Yep, you bet, Councillor.
And just the other thing, what does this look like when it's done? Like when I look at accessibility, I thought of like ped ramps and all that kind of stuff. But what does it look like? Yeah, so I think the final look of the plan will be kind of based on the findings along the way, but essentially the aim is to develop a framework to help us with future decision making, whether that's infrastructure investments or even accessing online resources, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a holistic approach at what we do and how we can make sure that we are including everybody within the community.
Good. Anybody else? I think, Andrew, you make a good point towards the budget. When the motion here is to begin implementation, but it's to begin implementation of the planning process, not of the upgrades or whatever things may get identified. That's probably a year out. And you're right, Councillor Bador. I immediately think of ramps and things like that, but accessibility is so much more than that. It's are people able to access our website, people of all abilities able to access our website, or even to get in here to pay their water bill. So I think that the holistic approach is the right way to do this. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the Director of Leisure Services, you again with season pass rates for the Leisure Centre.
Yeah, so the Leisure Services Department continually reviews our operations and fee structures to meet the needs of users while still maintaining simplicity. Following an internal investigation into existing rate options, it was identified that the current rate structure is overly complex for a seasonal pool facility. To address this, season pass rates will be introduced to streamline options available for users and simplify the fee system. So the season passes offer an opportunity for regular facility users to benefit from a flat upfront fee that allows unlimited access to the Weyburn Leisure Centre this summer. Introducing these season passes provides users with the following benefits: a simplified fee structure that aligns with the seasonal timeline of the facility, cost savings for frequent users compared to daily admissions or punch passes, and flexibility to choose the type of season pass that best fits their needs. Additionally, to encourage early purchases, an early bird promotion will be offered for our family season passes purchased prior to June 1st, 2025. This promotion provides significant savings for families who commit to their summer plans early. So some trends that we see: season passes are common practice across seasonal facilities, proven to encourage regular use of and simplify the fee structure. The early bird promo in particular has demonstrated success in incentivizing early commitments, resulting in steady participation throughout the season. So you'll see we've kept it fairly straightforward. We're looking at moving our 3-month membership to just be called a season pass rate. Essentially, we plan to open earlier than a typical year because we are down to just the outdoor facility. So we will be extending our season. We hope to open somewhere around the May 16th mark. So rather than having our users forced to buy potentially a 3-month pass and then a punch pass or whatever to get the duration of the season, we want to just offer that 3-month pass fee, call it a season pass, and then you're good for the whole year. So I guess the recommendation is to introduce the season pass rates into the leisure services fee structure for the Weyburn Leisure Center 2025 season, taking effect on the facility's opening day.
Thank you. I will take a motion on this one.
Your Worship, I would move to introduce season pass rates into the leisure services fee structure for the Weyburn Leisure Center 2025 season, taking effect on the facility's opening day.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, feedback? Yeah.
Your Worship, Andrew, I did hear you say the plan is to open the outdoor pool earlier than we had in the past. What was the date that you had mentioned?
Yeah, so this is still being kind of played with, but we're aiming for somewhere around the May 16th date. So we hope to open about 2 weeks earlier than we typically would.
Yeah. Are we looking at keeping it open a little bit longer too?
That's a tough one because so many of our staff either go back to college or high school, so it really comes down to staffing as far as how late into the season we can remain open. I think we'll probably take a check on that during the season and see how far we can extend it. But I would say we won't be able to get much later in the year than typical.
Yeah, evaluate as
yeah, we'll
season
evaluate.
comes.
Yeah, we'll evaluate as we go and then modify as we can.
Super. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Nope. Hearing none, then we'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up is a discretionary use development permit, and I will turn that over to Planning and Development Coordinator Malcolm.
Thank you. All right. A discretionary use development permit application has been received from Prairie Clean Energy for a change in use at 54 Queen Street. Notices were provided to all property owners within a 75-meter radius of the subject property, with which notifies them of the application and the opportunity to provide their concerns and feedback to council. Notices were sent out January 8th, 2025, and the response deadline was January 28th, 2025 at 12 p.m. There were no responses received. Prairie Clean Energy is a bioenergy company that focuses on gathering and processing fiber-rich and energy-dense straw and other sources of organic waste for diverse uses. A change in use is required as the location was previously permitted for a brewery/distillery. There will be no major changes to the current building. Discretionary use developments require approval of council under zoning bylaw 2020-3412. The medium industrial zone allows for grain storage, milling, cleaning, or drying as a discretionary use. This zone is within the city's industrial zone and poses no threat to neighboring businesses or potential residential zones. And below is just a map of where the subject property is. So council options. Option 1, approve the development permit 2025.001 to facilitate the change of use to the property 54 Queen Street for the discretionary use of grain storage, milling, cleaning, or drying. And option 2, refuse development permit 2025.001 for the following reasons. Any proposed use must meet a reason for refusal. The officer making the motion for refusal should provide reasons for the permit's refusal in their motion. So staff recommendation, option 1, that council approves a discretionary use development permit 2025.001 to facilitate the change of use to the property 54 Queen Street for the discretionary use of grain storage, milling, cleaning, or drying.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that council approves a discretionary use development permit 2025.001 to facilitate the change of use to the property of 54 Queen Street for the discretionary use of grain storage, milling, cleaning, and drying.
Thank you. A seconder.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Morissette?
Thank you, Your Worship. Coordinator Malcolm, is this a new business moving into a vacant building?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
Right. Councilor Bador.
I just get a little tripped up between discretionary permit and then change of use. Is that the same thing, or are we talking two different things, or?
So the discretionary use is just uses that would be permitted in a zone given approval by council. The permit itself, the change of use, is to change the use of the property. So if, like for instance, this one, it was a brewery distillery before, in order to have that new usage being operated there, it has to get a permit for it. Yeah.
Okay. Great answer. Thanks for that. I think that's a good question. Anybody else? Okay. Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And one last one, again to the Director of Leisure Services. This is the Leisure Center feasibility study. Yeah.
Thank you. You get to hear a lot from me today. Okay, so to begin to determine the next steps forward with addressing the structural failure of the Weyburn Leisure Center pool basin, $50,000 was included within the 2025 budget to conduct a feasibility study and concept planning by experienced consultants. Upon completion of the final report, City Council will be provided with some next step options. An invitational RFP for consultant services was issued on December 9th, 2024, with a closing date of January 31st, 2025 at 2 p.m. A total of 4 firms registered to review the RFP, with 3 submitting proposals. So you have them there laid out. So proponents were asked to aid with conducting a feasibility study regarding the repair, remodel, or replacement of the current indoor aquatic center. Consultants were asked to provide proposals outlining a comprehensive plan, including studies, stakeholder engagement, and recommendations to be reviewed by City Council to aid in future decision-making. All proponents were required to include 7 key deliverables within their response, including their project understanding, detailed methodology, schedule for project delivery, their schedule of fees, and the list of team members and their relevant experiences, description of related project history, and any additional proposed value add items that would enhance our outcomes. So following a review of the submissions received, RC Strategies was selected as the recommended proponent based on their industry-leading experience, robust knowledge of recreation facilities and community recreation master planning, and thorough understanding of the importance of community engagement when determining the needs required within a new facility. RC Strategies provided a detailed resume of specific and relatable aquatic center feasibility studies conducted for communities exploring facility end-of-life options or planning for new construction. The selected proponent also provided a detailed timeline with methodology ensuring that stakeholder engagement activities, conceptual plans, D-class construction estimates, and estimated operating costs projections were provided. The schedule includes activities beginning the second week of February, with the final document and presentation occurring in July 2025. So essentially, if awarded tonight, I will be on the phone with them tomorrow morning and we will get started on the process. So it's recommended that the award of the Aquatic Center feasibility study be awarded to RC Strategies of Sherwood Park, Alberta, at a cost of $49,868 plus taxes.
Thank you, and I look for a motion.
Your Worship, I would move that the award of the Aquatic Center feasibility study be awarded to RC Strategies of Sherwood Park, Alberta, at a cost of $49,868 plus applicable taxes.
Seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right. Question time. Anybody have questions? Councillor Janke.
Andrew, apologies for asking this question, but I have to ask the obvious. You pick the most expensive of the ones. You're positive we're getting our money's worth on this? 100%.
The nice thing with an RFP is it allows us to look at the entire proposal that the proponents put forward. The RC Strategies really specializes in rec facilities and community engagement, and we've always said from the very beginning we need that piece to be a key piece to the project, to have that community engagement and the stakeholder engagement of the actual pool users involved in the conversation. So their proposal will include multiple reach outs to the community, whether it's through a survey or direct meeting with our stakeholders, as well as some actual work sessions formulated with our staff as well to get the staff's insight on things. So they take that process forward, and then they actually hire as a subcontractor as their architectural firm that'll put together the building designs, but they really focus on nailing down the needs of each individual community before they start putting designs together, so that we should get what we are looking for. Maybe not what Estevan is looking for, but what Weyburn's looking for.
You want me over with that last point? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morissette.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to echo how impressive this RC Strategies is. I took a look at their Yellowknife project, and they were facing something very similar to us, either having to do some additions to their current facility or look at building a new one. And the project was so in-depth and the report was fantastic. So I think we've made a really good choice. Andrew, thank you.
Great. Councillor Bador.
Thanks, Andrew. Just around timelines, I know we've got a lot of pressure on us here, and July. Is there any way we can accelerate those timelines to get something ahead of that?
You know, I think if I know everybody wants to get the ball rolling and get shovels in the ground or remodel what we have, but these planning pieces are so important that I don't think we can gloss over them. We need those engagement pieces to happen. We need, you know, the architects to provide, there's a number of drafts in this process so that we can make sure we get what we're looking for. I would hate to push it along too quick and miss any of those important planning pieces, but that being said, we will push them to hit their timelines that they've provided, and if we can speed anything up along the way, we will, but we will do that kind of, you know, knowing that we don't want to create any risks with the project in total. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we can try to push it, but I'd be cautious with that.
No, that's fair. I just think it should be always top of mind, you know, without the facility right now. And just one other question, D-class cost estimate, what does that mean?
So a D-class cost estimate is a very high-level estimate, so basically it's plus or minus 30% of what your actual costs will be. So they do it basically on like a square footage cost, and then as you go through the process and start refining things, those costs get narrowed in on. So it's the same process that we followed with the Spark Center or with the fleet storage building that we built a few years ago. We start very wide and then we narrow it in as our designs come more to what we are looking at doing.
And if awarded, I do encourage everyone to look at their website. They've got some great material there to look at. So,
other questions or comments? I would echo, Andrew, this is tough. I would echo Councillor Bador's eagerness to get the ball rolling. I think we're all feeling that, but I think, you know, we're making a 20 or 30-year decision here, so we most assuredly want to make sure we do the public consultations and we get all the feedback. I think this is, I also had a look at their website. Looks like this is the right group to do the work. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Guys, that's the end of our business for tonight. I would look around the table, the room, I suppose. Any inquiries and announcements? Oh, Councillor Morissette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to the Director of Engineering, Renee, thank you to you and your staff. We had that massive snowfall / wind / refresh of winter that we really didn't need. But your staff has done a fantastic job. I drove through Wednesday evening and I could barely get my vehicle through. Thursday morning going to work was in much better conditions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Morissette. I'll ensure to tell the team.
Okay, the only other thing that I can think of is the 88th Annual McLeod Series, postponed from last week, I think it was, is this Wednesday. That is, I think I read the oldest provincial high school tournament, longest running in the province's history. That's pretty cool, 88 years. So as much as we tease our neighbors down the road, and we do, we're grateful for this rivalry as well. It'll be a lot of fun. That's it. Hearing nothing more, we'll call this adjourned. Thank you.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today